Challenge questions. Remember, tomorrow's the big day. M-step, mathematics style, if you are taking the M-step. So we are now finished going through all the content, with the exception I got a little bit more to teach you with gallons. So remember, we're going to finish this off. We're going to finish the M-step. And then before the end of the year, I'm going to reteach you unit 7 and unit 8. And then you guys are going to take the unit 7, unit 8 test. And then we'll have one end of the year test. And then math is finished for 5th grade. So let's not waste any time. How did you do on your challenge questions? How did you do on your challenge questions? Let's check it out. All right, so looking at the first box, see how it's written kind of sideways? It's going to be hard to compare the fractions like that. So the first thing that you wanted to do was rewrite 3/5. So it's not sideways, but it's up and down. And then rewrite 4/7. Now you can do your trick to figure out which one's larger. You multiply a bottom number by the top number and put that answer by the top number. Multiply the bottom number by the top number and put that answer by the top number. And then whichever one has a larger number is the bigger fraction. Remember, that is the trick. It's hard because there's less pieces over here, but they're bigger sized pieces because it only takes 5 to make a whole. There's more pieces over here, but there's smaller pieces because the whole split by 7. So we find out through our cheat that 3/5 is a tiny bit bigger than 4/7. And then which one's larger? Well, remember when you're looking at decimals, you first look before the decimal. If one of those is larger, it's the winner. It's not though. So then you look the first place after the decimal, the 10th place. If one of those is bigger, then the whole amount's bigger. So therefore, 4/10 is bigger than 399 thousandths. And remember, 4/10 is the same thing as 400 thousandths. And when you compare 400 thousandths to 399 thousandths, boom, it's easy to see that that side's easier. Now, look before the decimal. This one doesn't have a decimal. Oh yeah, it's an invisible decimal. So therefore, they're both 5 wholes. Those are equal. All right, looking over here at the difference. Remember, difference is just a fancy way to say find the answer to the subtraction problem. So we are going to look at 61 1/4. And we're going to take from it 42 1/3. The denominator is just the fraction's name. So the first thing we have to do is find the common name. Well, 4 turns into 4, but 3 doesn't. It turns into 8, but 3 doesn't. It turns into 12, and so does 3. So the first thing that they're both going to turn into is 12s. Now you got to figure out what 1/4 is as a 12. The way we do that is figure out how many 4s make 12. 3. So you do that to the bottom, do it to the top. 1/4 is the same as 3 12s. And then times 4 times 4. 1/3 is the same as 4 12s. So what happens when you take 4 from 3? You go to jail for life because you're not allowed to take 4 from 3. So we have to go over here and say, I know I have 61 holes. I need one of you. So now I have 60 holes. And what is that hole going to turn into? Well, we need more 12, so it's going to turn into 12s. What's it worth? It's worth 12 12s. So now I have 12 and I have 3. So I have 15 12s. And 15 minus 4 is 11 12s. Now what's 60 minus 42? Well, 0 minus 2 is illegal, so I have to go like this. Turn that into a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. 5 minus 4 is 1. Answer is 18 and 11 12ths. 18 and 11 12. Now we are going to match the correct items here. So we are going to look at the sum, difference, product, and quotient. Thank you.
And
Sorry about that. Ms. Gillis came in and started asking me questions. All right, so let's just get to it. Sum. Sum is the answer to an addition problem. Difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. The product is what happens when you multiply two things together, and the quotient is the answer to the division problem. Find the area. Okay, so this is not a normal area. I cannot multiply 11 by 6. If I multiplied 11 by 6, I would get the area of that entire thing, but the dotted piece is missing, so I can't do that. So instead, you want to just turn it into two normal figures, and now we can multiply. So the question is, what is this measurement? Is this 11? No, the whole thing's 11, so I cannot use 11, but if I look up at the top, remember this side's equal to this side, so it's 6 by 6. 6 times 6 is 36. So this area is 36. What's this one? Well, it's 4 by something. It's 4 by something. We know this is 6, so that means this is 6. Oh, this whole thing's 11, so 6 plus what is 11? 6 plus 5, so this is 5. 5 times 4 is 20, so that is 20. So if this is 20 and this is 36, the whole thing is 56 square meters. 56 meters squared. And those are your challenge questions for today, folks. I hope you understand them. Now, let's jump into what a gallon is. Well, let me show you a sneaky way if you ever had to convert and they're not telling you what each one's worth. A sneaky way is going to Gallon Town. If you go to Gallon Town, you got a big old G. And guess who is in Gallon Town? Well, first it starts with the queens. Guess how many queens Gallon Town has? Gallon Town actually has 4 queens. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gallon Town is made up of 4 queens. And guess what those queens have? Well, they each have not one, but they each have 2 princesses. They each have 2 princesses. So you just put 2 P's in each of them for their pepperonis. Just kidding, for their princesses. And then guess what each princess has? You will never believe what each princess has. Each princess actually has 2 cats. Isn't that nice? So each one has 2 cats. So all you have to remember is 1 Gallon Town, 4 queens, 8 total princesses, and then 2, 4, 4, 8, 16 total cats. Well, let's make sense of all this. Mr. Stahl, this doesn't make any sense. I'll explain. Think about what you get from the store. That's a gallon. Okay, so G stands for 1 gallon. 1 gallon equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 quarts, which makes sense, right? Because a quart, like a quarter, is a fourth. Quart makes sense. There's 4 of them in a gallon. Okay, cool. And then guess how many pints it's equal to? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 pints. And then the little tiny C stands for cups. And it is worth 2, 4, 8, 16 cups. So this is a cheat sheet that maybe you can memorize. So if you ever had to figure out how to convert between gallons, quarts, pints, and cups, you have, what do they call this? Land of Gallington, I believe they call it. All right, but in 5th grade, chances are they're going to tell you kind of what the conversion is when they're asking you to convert. So what I'm going to ask you do right now is we will look at each box, and this is great practice. Okay, so if this goes too fast for today, then feel free to rewatch the video if you really want to understand this stuff. But remember, this is review. All right, let's get into it. So the first box is converting with the metric system. So you remember how we convert with the metric system. Converting with the metric system, we are going to put our KHD DCM. And if we're going from liters to kiloliters, we are going to start here, because this would be our liters and this would be our kiloliters. And we're going to go left, 1, 2, 3. So 15 liters goes left, 1, 2, 3. And that answer is 0.015. And then what about kg to g? Kg to g, well, everything, instead of it being liters, it would be grams. And kg would be over here, right? And if we're starting with kilograms and we're moving to grams, we're going to move left, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go left, 3. I'm going to put down my 8.75. And did I say left? We're going to move right 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go from kg to g. So we're going to move it right, 1, 2, 3. And the answer is going to be 8,750. 8,750. What do you think this is going to be? Meters to millimeters. Meters to millimeters. What do you think it's going to be? Well, remember, this is milli. So that would be millimeters. And then meters, anything with only one letter is going to be your base. Meters is the base. We're going from meters to millimeters. We're going to move right, 1, 2, 3. Right 3. So we're going to put our 5,000 down. And then where's the decimal? This is not a decimal, it's a comma. The decimal's here, and we're going to move it right 3. 1, 2, 3. Wow, turns into 5 million. So 5,000 meters is equal to 5 million millimeters. Okay, how do you feel about converting with the metric system? You feel good? I hope you do. I hope you do. Ooh, now we get this fun one though. Converting with the customary system. Yikes. Converting with the customary system. All right, so we're going from pints to quarts. The best way that I find to complete this is making sure that you just do what I call the double blinker, right? So we are going to go pints and then quarts. And then we just have to figure out what 1 pint is equal to, or 1 quart is equal to. And what we know is on the left, we put what we know. We know that 1 quart equals 2 pints. And what we have is 12 pints. And we don't have quarts. So, and how did I put that? Well, I actually wrote that down for you over here. Okay. Or you could have used Mr. Gallington to figure that out. So how are we going to convert? Well, we got to figure out what this number is times what. And if you don't ever know that number, you can divide this way to figure it out. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So that magic number is times 6. This magic number is times 6. 1 times 6 is 6. So that answer is 6. Ooh, this one looks a little bit more on the nasty side. Cups to gallons, cups to gallons. Cups to gallons. Well, what do we know the relationship? Well, we know 1 gallon is equal to 16 cups. So we know 1 gallon is equal to 16 cups. So I'm going to put 1 gallon equals 16 cups. And then over here we have 128 cups. And we're trying to figure out how many gallons that is. So how do I do this? Well, this times what equals 128. And if I don't know that, remember, I'm allowed to divide this way. So I put 128 divided by 16. And remember, this is a guessing game, okay? And then we check our guess. 10 times 16 is 160. That's too big. So I'm going to guess 8. So I'm going to go 16 times 8 to figure out how close 8/16 is. So 6 times 8 is 48. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. My guess was good. And if it's not good, I adjust. So the answer is 8 there. So it's times 8 here. And if it's times 8 there, you do it down here as well. So 128 cups is equal to 8 gallons. And then I'm seeing these scissors right here, so I'm going to use this as my were you paying attention. Okay. So scissors is the material that I reference to make sure that you watch the entire video. Let's see, cups, I'm going to put how many? We said 8. All right, now we have 1.5 pounds, and we got to figure out how many ounces. How many ounces? Well, we know that 16 ounces is equal to 1 pound. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give the double blinker. Over here, I'm going to put, I'm going pounds and ounces. And then I know that 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. Over here, I know I have 1.5. I need to figure out how many ounces that is. Well, how do I go from 1 to 1.5? I multiply by 1.5. I do it here, I do it down here. And I got to figure out what 16 times 1.5 is. Here's the deal. What are you more of? Are you more of a, I like to multiply it by fractions or decimals? And you get to choose whichever one you'd like here. If you're more of I like to multiply by fractions, then you're going to say 16 times 1.5 is like this. 16 over 1 times 3/2. And if you're like, no, not me, I like to multiply by decimals. Well, it'd be 16 times 1.5, and 1.5 as a decimal is that. Okay. If you're going over here and you know that you can reduce first, do it. That's great. That would turn into an 8. That would turn into a 1. 8 times 3 is 24. So your answer is 24. If you're over here, then I don't know if you got to ignore the decimal, remember? 6 times, this is 30. 5, 6, 7, 8. My magic 0. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. 0, 14, 2, and then I have to make sure that I bring my decimal back. Either way, it's the same answer, and that answer is 24. All right, let's go down here. So we have length of mealworms, and we have to try to interpret this graph. How many mealworms were measured? Well, how do I figure that out? Oh, each x equals a mealworm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Answer's 13. Now, usually there's some kind of a key. Now, if their key over here is x equals 10 mealworms, then it would be different, right? If it was 10 mealworms, then your answer would be 130. But it just says it doesn't have a key. And when there's no key, then we just know that each x is equal to 1. Now let's come down here. It says how many mealworms were smaller than 1 inch? Okay, so here's 1 inch. Is it 1 inch smaller than 1 inch? No, but all these are. So that answer is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now last but not least, we will end the Zoom after this. If you want to pause and try to find this answer and then check it with me, that's really good practice. All right, now I'm going to go over the answer. So we know that this is a rectangle. So this is equal to this, and this is equal to this. So perimeter is adding everything up. So 2/3 and 2/3. I feel like we've done this exact one. 2/3 plus 2/3 equals 4/3, which is 1 1/3. 1 4/5 plus 1 4/5 equals 2 8/5, which is equal to 3 3/5. So perimeter is this plus this plus this plus this. So I just need to add those two together. First thing we want to do is turn them into the common denominator. Times 5 times 5 times 3 times 3. 5 plus 9 is 14/15, and 3 plus 1 is 4. So that answer would be 4 14/15, and since that's centimeters, that's just centimeters. And we are only measuring length, which is one dimension, so centimeters stays centimeters. Now, what two numbers am I multiplying for area? I'm taking this and multiplying it by this. So 1 4/5. Multiply that by 2/3. And when I'm doing this, I want to make sure that we put it in Mr. Krabs' eyes. Artie. Oh, that's terrible. Pretend like I didn't do that. All right. So 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 is 9, so that's 9/5. And then 2/3 already is 2/3. And why do we do this? Because you can only multiply numerators and denominators. You can't multiply a whole number with it, so we just turn it into improper fractions, or if it already is a numerator denominator, then that's fine. Can you reduce first? Sure, 3 and 9 can reduce, 2 and 5 can't, 2 and 3 can't. But if you're not comfortable with it, don't reduce first. 9 times 2 is 18. 5 times 3 is 15. If you reduced first, this turned into a 1, this turned into a 3. You got 3 times 2, which is 6, and 5 times 1, which is 5. These will be the same answer. It takes 15/15 to make a whole, so I have one whole, and then since I took away 15, there's still 3 left. So that answer is 1 3/15. Over here, it takes 5/5 to make a whole, so it's 1 1/5. So the real answer is, and then this can reduce to 1/5 because you can count by 3s for both of them. How many 3s make 3? 1. How many 3s make 15? 5. The answer is 1 1/5, and we're working with CM, two-dimensional, so CM squared. And that is what we have for building our math brains for today. And then I'll see you at 10:30, where we will then go over this. Ooh. And possibly this. But who knows if we'll have enough time. See you at 10:30.